Where do sales start? That is the question. There's a couple facts you need to know about where your sales start. And so if you and I were talking about this in person, right, I would ask you these questions because it's super important, right? It's super critical to know where your sales start, right? I've already showed you in some previous videos that you have to start a conversation, right? You have to start a conversation with the right person who's currently shopping or in market for solar, for the outcome that you deliver, right? Think of it like dating. You wouldn't just walk up to some stranger and ask them to go out with you. You would start a conversation first. You'd build a relationship. It's very important to understand that, right? Because a lot of you solar guys are out here putting quotes in front of people, asking them to, fill out forms, and you're on step 5 when they're on step 1. You're putting stuff out of order. You're doing it wrong. You're jumping in there and asking people too quickly to go on a date with you. No one wants to take your quote right now. Well, some do. Look, you're going to get it right a few times. You're going to, even a broken clock is right a few times a day, right? So, you get deals that way. It's just not efficient. You're pushing too far, too fast. You're not building a real relationship. That's why people don't trust you. That's why you're not getting leads. That's why you're not making money. That's why you're not dominating your territory. The heart of every relationship is trust. You've got to start the conversation right. You've got to build a real relationship. You've got to demonstrate that you can help people. No one's going to consider paying you. No one's going to consider your solution until you build a real relationship. All right, people want to make informed buying decisions, just like you do, right? That's exactly how you buy stuff. You don't go buy a house and just, plop down a down payment before doing research, right? Don't you want to go inside and make sure that the stuff works? Make sure it's going to fit your needs? Don't you, research stuff before you buy it? You're no different than your prospects. They want to make informed buying decisions. They want to educate themselves, right? So what you have to do is you have to figure out where the sale starts for them. All right? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to figure out where the sale starts for them. So ask yourself this question. What percentage of your current sales come from online research? All right, think about that. If you're not answering at least 90%, then you probably shouldn't even be running ads to begin with, right? And I probably can't help you. So unless you're selling gum or something that can be purchased at the gas station, people are educating themselves, right? They're online, they're researching, they're visiting websites, they're consuming videos, they're reading articles. Most purchases start with some form of research going on, right? There's URL level navigation. There's keyword search. There's content being consumed, specifically content around the questions that your prospects have about their problem. They're trying to define their problem. They're trying to learn so they can make an informed buying decision. Once they understand the problem, then they're looking at solutions. They're reading client reviews. They're looking at companies. They're looking at your website. They're looking at all the websites, right? They're trying to get as much power as they can. They want to be a powerful buyer. Remember the 5 forces? We talked about that. Nobody walks in going, oh, I want to get screwed. I want to make an uninformed decision, right? They're exhibiting behavior that can be tracked, right? We talked about that in market. Machine learning, identity graph. These behaviors all lead to a purchase. Now, when we talked in yesterday's video, I promised you that I was going to show you the 2 things that you have to have when your prospect is ready to commit, when they're ready to move forward, when they're ready to buy. Yes. If you can get your prospect to yes, there's 2 things you need. The first thing we just talked about, relationship, right? You got to have a relationship with them. You got to start a conversation. You got to show them you can help them. You got to demonstrate you can help them, build a relationship, trust, right? You got to have trust. It's the heart of this whole thing. The second thing you got to have, though, is you have to be top of mind. We've already talked about controlling their perspective, right, on how they see the problem and how you solve that problem. If you're first, you can have that meaningful conversation, build that relationship, communicate your value proposition, how you solve the problem, keep that conversation going and deliver value all along the way. If you do that right, if you set the value, if you deliver value the right way, then as your prospects continue their research and continue looking, when they see other players coming in, your competitors, your rivals, alternates and substitutes, they're all going to be compared to you. And that's a fact. So when the client is ready, when your prospect is ready to say yes, let's assume you have the relationship, right? Guess what else you need? You got to be top of mind. They have to remember you, right? They can't take action on something they don't remember. So let's think about this for a second. I want you to just go along with this test for a second. All right, think about this honestly. Be honest with yourself on this. In the past day, the past 24 hours, you've seen at least 100 ads. Whether you've been online, on your phone, watching television, whatever, you've seen at least 100 ads. Name one. Can you do it? Who was it from? Who was the company? What did it say? What was the call to action? If you can't name one, guess what? Even if you could you remember what it said and what it was about? So your prospects are no different. People forget. People can't take action on what they don't remember. I bet you can't even name one ad you saw in the last 24 hours. I've asked this question thousands of times. Thousands of times. Probably tens of thousands. People forget. Memory plays a massive role in conversion. People cannot act on what they forget. Prospects, your clients, your prospects can only take action on what they remember. If they don't remember, they can't act. Now think about your sales cycle. Think about how long it takes to close a deal. Think of, no one's jumping in on day one, getting a quote and putting the solar on their house in 1 or 2 days, right? How long does that research take? What's your sales cycle? So if you're doing demographic targeting, if you're just sending out flyers, hoping to randomly hit somebody when they're ready to talk to you, you might get lucky, right? But what if you hit him when he's at the early phase of his buying cycle? Let's just assume for a second that the buying cycle is 2 months. Well, if you hit him with that ad or that flyer in week 1, he's still got 7 more weeks to get to where he's ready to go. He's not going to remember you if you just send him that one thing. That's why advertising is ineffective. That's why one mailer is not going to cut it. One Facebook ad is not going to cut it. And that's what most of you guys are doing. You're sending Bob something, you don't know, first of all, you don't even know where he's at in his buying cycle, right? So even if he does save your flyer, oh, that's something I was looking at. Hey, honey, check out this ad. Guess what? It gets buried and they forget. So if you're expecting Bob to remember your flyer from 8 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, and expect that he's going to save it, and it's going to survive the junk mail stack or even the saved mail stack, you're sadly mistaken. You've seen an ad in the last 24 hours. You can't even tell me what it said, what it was. And even if you gave me one, what did it say? What was the message? What was the call to action? What was the value proposition? It's very difficult. All right. Now here's how you combat this. Here's how you solve this. All right. Think about it. If you're doing in-market targeting, if you own and control your list ahead of time, you're not paying the big suppliers for targeting, right? You have a list of people that you know are in market. I'd be telling you to at least half your ads to be just top of mind ads. They could just be, they don't even have to have a call to action. It could just be very inexpensive display ads. You don't even need a complex funnel or a complex marketing system. Just remind them you're there. Break down your value proposition in the form of headlines and simple little micro pieces of content. It doesn't even have to go to like an opt-in form or anything fancy. Just throw them back to your website or something. You don't have to get complicated with this stuff. Think about it. If you do this right, if you start the conversation, if you stay top of mind by running the proper advertising, if you know who ahead of time who your target, who your audience is, you know that they're already in market for solar, couldn't you run ads more consistently? What if you did advertising across multiple channels? What if you ran ads on Google and Facebook or display ads to a specific group of people that you already know are in market? What if you ran ads to that group of people and then sent direct mail flyers behind it? Strategic, right? Not just one channel, multiple channels. You're hitting them from all angles with different pieces of content. You already know his behavior ahead of time, right? It doesn't take a lot of money. It doesn't take a lot of resources to do this, right? You know who your target is. You're only targeting people that are actually pursuing the outcome you sell. You can buy those behaviors ahead of time and just market to those people, right? And all you have to do is two things in your ads. Just break down your value proposition, like I said. Most people ask way too much of prospects in their ads in their website, right? That you're asking for a much bigger commitment before there's any sort of relationship. Like Bob doesn't want to get a quote yet. Bob wants to understand his problem. So guess what? Stay top of mind with him. To show him your value proposition. Break it down. And keep in mind, we're just talking about half of your ads, not all of them. You still want to have other collateral, other creative. But it's not expensive to take half of your ads and just say, okay, all these ads over here are just top of mind ads, right? Stick your value proposition on there. Just remind them who you are, throw your logo or some headline on there, and drive them back to your website. State your value proposition or support it with some type of proof. Maybe a case study, maybe a testimonial, right? Don't have to ask them to opt in, right? You don't have to ask them to call you. Because if you own and control, you already have that, right? You don't need them to opt in. Now, there's still a good reason to get them to opt in at some point later, because that's an attribute that can help make your behavior profile improve. But I don't want to get too deep. Let's stay away from the deep end here. You'll understand that in due time. All right. Still valuable. Still helps your attribution and your graph, your custom conversion profile that I'll explain here in just a second. But just run these top of mind ads. Not complicated. Remember, prospects act on what they remember, right? And here's the beautiful part about it. If you don't know where your prospect is in his buying cycle, but you're running ads every day, if you're consistent, right? You can figure that out through the content you're delivering. Because guess what? If you have an ad that says one thing and then he clicks on it, you can put in your ads manager to not send him more ads. As soon as he clicks, he comes out of that ad. So then you can learn from what he's clicking on where he's at in his buying cycle. That's how you can get prospect counting in your favor. Because keep in mind, you're only marketing to, you're not doing what your competitors are doing. You're not marketing to the haystack. You're marketing to the needles. Right? You can run ads consistently at a lower cost. Right, you can change messaging on the fly because you have your list already. Show them why they should buy from you. Give them a hand. Build that relationship. Right? Show them some proof. Show them a case study. Show them a house that you just installed on. Show them some smiling faces of previous customers. Back up your value proposition. All this stuff helps your prospects make informed buying decision, right? that's where the sale starts. It starts with that research. Be there with him while he's doing that. Help him get comfortable about his problem. Help position your solution, because you're there educating him along the process. You're building trust. You're building a real relationship. And you can stay top of mind very inexpensively and consistently on multiple channels because you know who he is ahead of time. And that's how that solves that problem. That solves that question. If you know ahead of time that they're researching, just stay top of mind with them throughout the process. Well, the second question I want to ask you, the second question you do think about is, what percentage of your current sales visit your website prior to purchase? Now keep in mind, this is someone who's actively pursuing what you sell. If you're running in-market leads, right? Not only are they in market, but they're actively pursuing what you sell, right? They're actively pursuing the outcome that you deliver. But now they're in your website. They're considering buying the outcome they're seeking from you. They want the solution from you. Listen, there's no greater value to you from a sales lead, from a business perspective. There's nothing more valuable to you than somebody who is, that's actually what we would call in funnel, okay? On your website, on your property. They've entered your environment. They've walked through your door. They're on your property. We offer a piece of software. We're going to put a little piece of code right on your website that we can identify, we can resolve the identity of those people. So when someone comes to your website, we know who they are. We're tracking over 200 million people. If they go to your page, we know their identity. 100% resolved by name. We can identify them and give them to you. And just this one little thing alone, just this one strategy, can help you reduce your advertising cost by 25 to 75%. Think about that. If you lower your advertising cost, if you reduce your cost per click, that means you're going to acquire clients and leads for less. You're going to lower your cost per acquisition, right? If I can buy a client for 200 and your competitor has to pay 400, if we're head-to-head competitors, hey man, all due respect, I'm going to whip your ass all over the schoolyard every day of the week and twice on Sunday. There's nothing you can do. You can't compete, right? I can, if my acquisition is that low, right? What's the difference between 200 and 400, right? I can add more value. I can reduce the price. You couldn't compete with that. There's nothing you could do. Now factor in me knowing first when somebody's in market, right? I own and control. I have the conversation first. I'm building trust first. I'm building a relationship first. Even if you come into the marketplace, you're being compared to me. We're discussing terms and all the buying questions before you're even part of the conversation. I'm going to win. I could offer a lower price and still profit more than you. And remember, profit's the key to victory, right? Plus, think about it like this. If I know you're in my environment, if I know that you're in my website, if I know there's a prospect visiting my site and I know he's currently shopping for what I offer, he's on my site, what if I sent them a special offer to push him over the fence? A very specific offer. Keep in mind, with this technology, you know them by name. This isn't some anonymous visitor. You resolve their identity. Send them an incentive, right? Now there's obviously a little bit of cost there, so that's gonna push into your margin a little bit, right? But think about it. If he's on your property and you push him over the edge, then guess what? If you have a sales attribute, if you can put that data back into the machine, you can create a customized conversion profile of what it took Bob to get all the way through his buying pattern, not just with any company, with your company. Very powerful. So that's why it's important that you know where your sales start. Because if you know where that is, where the research starts, you can start the conversation first. You can stay top of mind, right? You can build a relationship throughout the entire process strategically, without commission breath, without asking people to fill out your forms, without asking people to call you. That gives you the greatest probability of profit. And when they hit your website, you can send them an incentive, send them a special offer. If you can do that, you have you have a tremendous opportunity. That's first party data. That is your quickest path to profit. That is your most valuable use of resources, somebody that is actively pursuing your program from you, what you sell from you. Now you might sit there and say, I get this a lot actually. Well, Steve, I could just put, I could put the Facebook pixel on my website and I can retarget them. Okay, fine. Tell me their name. Tell me their address. Tell me their phone number. Can you go to Google and say, hey, Google or Facebook, give me the information of these people that are on my site? I need their names and phone numbers. I'll wait. Plus, cookies are temporary. They only last 4 weeks. And what if the person clears out their cache or something, or switches devices? Cookies are device specific. If you convert that to a permanent record, you're not on the clock anymore. You don't need them to opt in within 4 weeks. You don't need to get them to call you within 4 weeks or whenever the cookie expires, right? You're not at the mercy of the big suppliers, Facebook and Google, charging you a premium for targeting, telling you what you can and can't do, kicking you off their platform. Then what? With this, you can go to any platform, start a conversation. You can make any offer. That's a permanent record. Think about it like this. If you had the names and phone numbers of all the people that visited your website in the last 12 months, do you think you'd be at the same revenue numbers that you're at right now? Do you think that would change your profit? I bet you any amount of money that you'd be making a heck of a lot more. I bet your pipeline would have a few more deals in it. And I think you know that too. Now here's the last part. Here's the third part. We're going to actually cover this in tomorrow's video. What you're missing is the power of today's technology, machine learning, artificial intelligence. When you know who's on your website, when you know who buys from you because you have attribution, meaning you know them by name, people-based, right? Not just some anonymous visitor. The ability to recognize them by name on any device. You can advertise or market to them across any platform, online or offline. Right? It's not just being able to recognize that they were being marketed to, right? It's knowing when they purchase, right? Like we said, that custom conversion profile, that's unique to you. That's the most powerful thing I've ever seen. Show me something better so I can go buy it myself. Having the ability to know who's on your website, think about it like this, that's the first level of conversion, right? They're on your site. That's an attribute. That's a behavior, right? Then at some point along the process, because you're doing it smartly, you're not going to ask them to opt in right away. You're going to be smart about it. You're going to get their opt-in later on, after you have a relationship, after they trust you. Then you get their opt-in. Now you have more attribution, right? Now you have an opt-in. That's more powerful than a visitor. And then guess what? If you've done everything right and you have a conversation and you've built trust and you have a relationship and they buy from you, then you put that attribution into the machine learning. Now you have all the power, because now you can essentially track behaviors from research all the way up through buying, through talking with you, all the way to the sale. Imagine being able to navigate from the moment they start researching all the way to buying from you. You know who they are, every single behavior, all the way through the buying cycle. Let that sink in. Now, in one of my other videos, I showed you a slide that said success in business has a lot to do with knowing something that others do not. And I showed you in these last few videos here exactly what you should be doing to be more profitable. Now, in tomorrow's video, I'm going to show you a technology that has everything to do with what we've been talking about in these past few videos. You ever hear the quote, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, the next best time is now? Listen, there's a structural change, a foundational change happening right now. A structural change means this change is not something that you or I could stop or prevent. It's going to happen with or without you. Tomorrow's video, I'm going to break down this technology. I'm going to simplify it for you. I'm going to show you the forces, the technological, machine learning, artificially intelligent forces, and the economic force that they are currently having in the marketing and in business. Everybody thinks of this word data. Data, it's just information, right? It's part of it, right? But think about it like this: when you add data to data, and then you should, because machines are dumb, right? A machine is just a machine. It has no value. But what if you train that machine and give it data, and then ask it to look at different other data? You add data to data, and then data on top of that, and more data, more attributes. That produces insight. Remember, success in business has a lot to do with knowing information that your competitors don't know. And I look forward to having that conversation in the next video.